Gadd, Harrell, Horton, Coopin, Parker, Vice Chair Rutherford, and Councilmember Vole present. Everybody's here. Thank you all for being here. So with that, we'll move on to our public comment period, starting with, and if, when I call your name, if you would come up to the public podium to speak, starting with Steve Ryder. He will be speaking about RS 2025-1436, and he is, I can't tell if you're in support or opposition, but go ahead, Mr. Ryder.
Yeah, I have a concern. This council approved $500,000 to start up for Scobey House, and Mike Lacey did some public records requests and showed that as of a couple months ago, they've expended over $1 million. And I have some problems. The Office of Homeless Services does not report to a board or commission. We don't get the information we need. I'm on the general membership of the Continuum of Care.
Mr. Ryder, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I believe the item you're wanting to speak about is a budget item. 1436 is not on the planning committee agenda.
I thought it was.
It's on the budget committee. So the next
It is on the budget committee, but it said, I thought it said on my agenda was also on planning. Or, was it health and hospitals then instead? It's my mistake then.
No problem. Yes, it is not on the planning and zoning committee.
I apologize.
No problem.
I apologize. I'm sorry. I'm juggling. I was supposed to be at a pool right now. I'm sorry.
We all should be at one, as hot as it is today. But thank you for being here. In the next committee, if you want to sign up for budget. All right, moving on to Ms. Lauren Magali. Is that correct? Sorry if I didn't pronounce your name correctly.
It's okay. It's Magley, like a Maglite flashlight.
Thank you. And you're here to speak about BL 2025-830 and 831 in opposition. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much, Council, for allowing me to be here today. I'm asking you to please hear the people and oppose the nation's rezoning and UDO. Mr. Horton claims that he has had 20 plus public meetings. This did not happen. I emailed Metro staff to confirm per Council Member Siegel's request, or not request, but she mentioned the legislative calendar on the floor. So I checked that. There is no record of that, of any meetings there. I checked Mr. Horton's website. There is no record of that. Then I emailed Metro staff to ask for the official record because, hey, maybe I missed something. From staff, only one District 20 community meeting has been noticed at all for this term, and that was the August 13th meeting. We've had one meeting on this, one meeting, and that was last week, August 13th, after the public hearing. We were asked to submit questions in advance so Horton could cherry pick. This is not what we asked for. This is not community engagement. This is rush legislation that will destroy the character of the nation's neighborhood, a neighborhood that we dearly and deeply love. We have 823 signatures on our petition that we started against this. Council members, I ask you, are you so willingly to boldly ignore the people? Or would you do this to the people of your district without the support or consent of the governed? There is not public buy-in here at all. There is not public buy-in. The community does not want this. This has been rushed through. This was moved in the dark. Mr. Horton has chose to use councilmatic courtesy and spend his time working y'all to get votes versus disseminating this information out in the community. What we would like is the housing and infrastructure study, the new zoning that is scheduled to go out now, that public comment period is still open until August 22nd. We would like to be a part of that. No one in the nation is opposed to growth. We are opposed to rushing something through that is ill-planned and reckless. We would like to be part of this like the rest of the community with the housing and infrastructure zoning that rolls out, with adequate studies to be done, with public safety studies to be done. You know, our very lives are at risk here, and this is irresponsible, this is reckless, and why the rush? We have had multiple meetings. We had to have a community meeting, and we made boards, and we asked the community questions like, where do you walk to? You know, what type of housing do you want? Why hasn't Mr. Horton done any of this? He has not engaged the community at all. One meeting online.
Thank you, ma'am. That's your time.
Hear us.
Thank you. Up next, we have Rachel Gladstone. Who's here to speak about BL 2025-830 and 831 in opposition? Go ahead, ma'am.
Hi, thank you for hearing me today. You're probably getting sick of my face. I'm actually also getting sick of my face. As Lauren said, we were lied to. We didn't know anything about this. I've lived in this neighborhood for 23 years. I started the first neighborhood association. I have worked with Councilman Horton on some things. He has my phone number. I had coffee with him yesterday asking him to defer. 51 people out of the neighborhood, 2% voted. What about, talk about the missing middle? How about the missing 98? We had to form a neighborhood committee 5 weeks ago called the Voice of the Nations, which is the nations, all of us. And yesterday we invited Councilman Horton to our town hall to speak and answer questions. And he said in front of us that we are in an opposition party. To who? To who? To him? Not to the neighborhood. Not to the neighborhood. There's no plans for parking. There's no plans for sewer and water, public safety. We have doubled our density in the last 10 years with no infrastructure improvements. There are 1,800 apartments in the pipeline. There's an 8% vacancy rate already in the nations. Add 3,600 cars to a 2-lane road with tankers. There was a gas leak today at the big apartment structure that's being built, 50 yards from the largest pipeline in the southeast that fills dozens and dozens and dozens of tanks with gasoline that goes up and down our street 24/7, full of gasoline. There was an accident there a few years ago. There's no study done about that. We don't know the blast radius. We don't know an exit plan. Nothing. Is this good? Is this a good thing to do to us who don't want it, who live there, just because he wants it? I don't think so. Please defer.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, that concludes anyone who signed up for our public comment period. And without objection, we will move into the consent agenda. I'll read off the numbers first, and if anything needs to be pulled off, let me know, and then we'll get into the captions. On consent, we have RS 2025-1420, 1421, 1422, 1423, 1424, 1425, 1428, 1446, 1448, 1449, 1450, 1451, 1452, 1453, 1454, 1455, 1456, 1457. Bills on second reading consent include BL 2025-960, 961, 963, 964, 965, 966, 967, 968, 969, 970, 971, 972, 973, 975. Bills, what did I say, 974, 975. Bills on third reading consent, BL 2025-820, 832, 837, 882, 883, 925, 926, 927, 928, 929, 930, 933, 934, 935, 936, 937, 938, 939, 940, and 941. Oh, that's not all. 950, 942, 943, 944, 945, and 947. Do either of those numbers need to be pulled off? Council member, I'll get back to the Councilmember Benedict, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Number 41 and 42, BL 2025-882 and 883, its companion.
All right. We will pull off BL 2025-882 and 883. Is there anything else that needs to be pulled off of consent? All right, without objection, I will read through the captions. Starting with RS 2025-1420, Toombs, Porterfield, Gamble, Allen, Gadd, a resolution authorizing Metropolitan Government and Housing Agency to negotiate and enter into a pilot agreement and accept payments in lieu of ad valorem taxes with respect to a multifamily housing project located at 2122 Buena Vista Pike, known as Buena Vista Apartments. RS 2025-1421, Porterfield Gamble Welch Allen, a resolution to approve the First Amendment to a grant contract to construct affordable housing between the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, acting by and through the Metropolitan Housing Trust Fund Commission and AAA Residential Resources, Inc. RS 2025-1422, Porterfield Gamble Welch and others, a resolution to approve the First Amendment to a grant contract to construct affordable housing between the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, acting by and through the Metropolitan Housing Trust Fund Commission and Arts and Business Council of Greater Nashville, Inc. RS 2025-1423, Porterfield Gamble Welch and Allen, a resolution to approve the First Amendment to a grant contract to construct affordable housing between the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, acting by and through the Metropolitan Housing Trust Fund Commission and Woodbine Community Organization, Inc. RS 2025-1424, Porterfield Gamble Welch and Allen, a resolution to approve the Second Amendment to a grant contract to construct affordable housing between the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, acting by and through the Metropolitan Housing Trust Fund Commission and Living Developed Concepts, Inc. RS 2025-1425, Porterfield Gamble Hill, resolution approving a memorandum of understanding between the Metropolitan Nashville Public Schools and the Department of General Services for the usage of 3.77 acres located at 3500 John Mallet Drive. RS 2025-1428, Porterfield Gamble Hill and others, a resolution declaring surplus and approving the disposition of certain parcels of real property in accordance with Section 2.24.250F of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, RS 2025-1446, Porterfield Gamble Park and others, a resolution approving Amendment 1 to an intergovernmental agreement by and between the State of Tennessee Department of Transportation and the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by and through the Nashville Department of Transportation and Multimodal Infrastructure for traffic signal communication upgrades along Broadway and West End from First Avenue to I-440 State Project. RS 2025-1448, Porterfield Gamble Park and Kimbrough, a resolution supporting a proposed landscaping project by the Metropolitan Department of Water and Sewage Services in cooperation with the Tennessee Department of Transportation at the interchange of Tennessee State Highway 155 and Conley Hospital Road. RS 2025-1449, Porterfield Gamble Park and others, a resolution authorizing the Director of Public Property or his designee to exercise option agreements for the purchase of 3 flood-prone properties located at 5340 Buena Vista Pike, 218 Blackman Road, and 517 Paragon Mills Road for Metro Water Services. RS 2025-1450, Bradford Gamble Parker, resolution to amend ordinance number BL 2025-859 to authorize the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to add an abandonment and acceptance of water mains and modify the acceptance of water main and easements for 2 properties located at 1300 and 1310 Donaldson Pike, also known as Donaldson Pike Industrial West. RS 2025-1451, Lee Gamble Parker, resolution authorizing Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to accept new public sanitary sewer manhole for properties located at 1550 Winding Creek Drive, also known as Tennessee Nature Academy. RS 2025-1452, Gamble Parker, resolution authorizing Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to abandon existing public sanitary sewer main, sanitary sewer manholes, and to accept new public sanitary sewer mains and sanitary sewer manholes for 4 properties located on Belshire Drive and Dickerson Pike, off-site of the project location at 3539 Dickerson Pike, also known as Artist Loft Off-Site. RS 2025-1453, Coop and Gamble Parker, a resolution authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to abandon existing public sanitary sewer main and to accept new public sanitary sewer mains for 2 properties located at 310 Peabody Street and 523 3rd Avenue Street, off-site of the project location at 712 4th Avenue South, also known as 4th and Elm Off-Site Sewer Improvements. RS 2025-1454, Gamble Parker, resolution authorizing Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to accept new public sanitary sewer main, sanitary sewer force main, and sanitary sewer manholes for property located at Bluff Road, unnumbered, Brentwood, and Wilson County, also known as Walnut Hills, Phase 2. RS 2025-1455, Welch Gamble Parker, resolution authorizing Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to abandon existing public water mains and to accept new public water main and fire hydrant assembly for property located at 194 Chilton Street, also known as Chilton Street Water Main Improvement. RS 2025-1456, Cortez Gamble Parker, a resolution authorizing Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to accept new public water main and fire hydrant assembly for property located in Nolensville Pike Unnumbered, also known as Nolensville Road, Wawa. RS 2025-1457, Gamble Parker Benton, a resolution authorizing Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to abandon existing public fire hydrant assembly and to accept new public fire hydrant assembly for two properties located at 490 and 520 Metroplex Drive, also known as Adventurers Community School. Bills on second reading, BL 2025-960, Coop and Gamble Parker, ordinance authorizing Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to abandon a portion of an existing utility easement for property located at 0 Victory Avenue and 501 South First Street. BL 2025-961, Lee Gamble Parker, ordinance authorizing Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to accept new public water, sanitary sewer, and forced sewer mains, fire hydrant assemblies, and sanitary sewer manholes and easements for three properties located at Old Hickory Boulevard Unnumbered, also known as Evergreen Hills Phase 4A. Bill 2025-962, Lee Gamble Park, an ordinance authorizing Metropolitan Government of Nashville to accept new public water and sanitary sewer mains, fire hydrant assemblies, sanitary sewer manholes, and easements for three properties located on Old Hickory Boulevard Unnumbered, also known as Evergreen Hills Phase 4B. Bill 2025-963, Cortez Gamble Parker, an ordinance authorizing Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to accept new public water and sanitary sewer mains, fire hydrant assemblies, sanitary sewer manholes, and easements for two properties located at 6415 and 6419 Holt Road, also known as Williams Mill. Bill 2025-964, Bradford Gamble Parker, an ordinance authorizing Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to accept new sanitary sewer mains, sanitary sewer manholes, the vertical relocation of a sanitary sewer manhole and easements for property located at 1300 Donaldson Pike, also known as Runway Logistics 1, Revision 1. Bill 2025-965, Benton Gamble Parker and Stiles, an ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to accept new public water and sanitary sewer mains, fire hydrant assemblies, sanitary sewer manholes, and easements for two properties located at 208 Franklin Limestone Road and 2111 Murfreesboro Pike, also known as Franklin Limestone Townhomes. Bill 2025-966, Harrell Gamble Parker, an ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to accept new public water and sanitary sewer mains, fire hydrant assemblies, sanitary sewer manholes, and easements for property located at 5932 Mount View Road. And that's it. Bill 2025-967, Cooper and Gamble Parker, an ordinance authorizing Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to abandon existing public water and sanitary sewer mains, fire hydrant assemblies, sanitary sewer manholes, and easements, and to accept new water and sanitary sewer mains, fire hydrant assemblies, sanitary sewer manholes, and easements for property located between Fogg Street and Allison Street on 7th Avenue South, also known as Paseo South Gulch, Phase 2 at 700 8th Avenue South. BL 2025-968, Huffman Gamble Parker, an ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to accept new sanitary sewer mains, sanitary sewer manholes, the relocation of a fire hydrant assembly and easements for property located at Tyler Drive Unnumbered, also known as Hermitage Row. BL 2025-969, Toombs Gamble Parker, an ordinance authorizing Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to abandon existing public sanitary sewer mains, sanitary sewer manholes, and easements, and to accept new public sanitary sewer main, sanitary sewer manholes for property located at 400 Haney Avenue. Bill 2025-970, Greg Gamble Parker, an ordinance authorizing Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to accept new public water, sanitary sewer mains, fire hydrant assemblies, and easements for two properties located at 1121 and 1125 Airport Center Drive, also known as Runway Motel. Bill 2025-971, Gamble Park, an ordinance authorizing Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to accept new public sanitary sewer mains, sanitary sewer manhole, and easements for two properties located at West Division Street Unnumbered in Mount Juliet, Wilson County, also known as Cane Break Subdivision Phase 4. Bill 2025-972, Toombs Gamble Park, an ordinance authorizing Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to abandon existing public water and sanitary sewer mains, fire hydrant assemblies, sanitary sewer manhole, and easements, and to accept new public water and sanitary sewer mains, fire hydrant assemblies, sanitary sewer manholes, and easements for property located at 1520 Hampton Street, also known as 1520 Hampton Street SP. BL 2025-973, Parker Gamble, an ordinance authorizing Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to abandon existing public sanitary sewer mains, fire hydrant assembly, and easements, and to accept new public water and sanitary sewer mains, fire hydrant assemblies, sanitary sewer manholes, and easements for 6 properties located at Walton Lane, also known as Walton Station. Bill 2025-974, Hancock Gamble Parker, an ordinance authorizing Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to accept new sanitary sewer mains, sanitary sewer manholes, and easements for 2 properties located at Shannon Avenue Unnumbered, also known as Madison Heights. Bill 2025-975, Hoop and Gamble Park, an ordinance authorizing Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to abandon existing public water main, fire hydrant assembly, and easements, and to accept new public water main, fire hydrant assemblies, and easements for 2 properties located at 1 Titans Way and 100 Woodland Street, also known as South 2nd Street Development. And bills on third reading consent. Bill 2025-820, Huffman, Ellis, Bradford, Webb, and Spain, an ordinance amending Chapter 17.40 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws to require written notice to district council member for certain final site plans. Bill 2025-832, Horton, an ordinance to authorize building materials. Yes, that 832 is not on consent. Bill 2025-837, Huffman, Gregg, Evans, and others, an ordinance amending Section 17.20.030 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws to eliminate the minimum parking requirement for a bar and nightclub. Actually, we're going to take that one off consent as well. Bill 2025-888, Bill 2025-925. Hancock, an ordinance to amend Title 17 of Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by changing from RS 7.5 to R8 zoning for properties located at 346 and 350 Rio Vista Drive, approximately 727 feet east of Archwood Drive. Bill 2025-926, Styles, an ordinance to amend Title 17 of Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by amending a portion of a planned unit development overlay district on a portion of property located at 771 Bell Road at the northern corner of Bell Road and Mount View Road, Zone R8, and located within a corridor design overlay. Bill 2025-927, Styles, an ordinance to amend Chapter 7, Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by changing from R8 to MULA zoning for property located at 771 Bell Road, the northern corner of Bell Road and Mount View Road, 5.87 acres, and within a planned unit development. Bill 2025-928, Kimbrough, an ordinance to amend Title 17 of Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by amending a specific plan on various properties located at the southwest corner of Hydes Ferry Road and East Stewart's Lane, Zone SP, 5.43 acres, to permit 28 multifamily residential units. Bill 2025-929, Kimbrough, companion bill, an ordinance to authorize building material restrictions and requirements for Bill 2025-928. Bill 2025-930, Hancock, an ordinance to amend Title 17 of Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by changing from RS 7.5 to R8 zoning for property located at 370 Rio Vista Drive, approximately 348 feet southeast of Anderson Lane. Bill 2025-933, Coupin, an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by amending a specific plan on property located at 3rd Avenue North, unnumbered, approximately 150 feet north of Van Buren Street, Zone SP. Bill 2025-934, Coupin, is companion bill, an ordinance to authorize building material restrictions and requirements for Bill 2025-933. Bill 2025-935, Hancock, an ordinance to amend Title 17 of Metropolitan Code of Laws and zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by changing from RS 7.5 to R8 zoning for property located at 326 Rio Vista Drive, approximately 780 feet east of Archwood Drive. Bill 2025-936, Harrell, an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by changing from AR2A to SP zoning for property located at 2304 Hobson Pike, approximately 184 feet east of Beach Mist Way, 12.15 acres, to permit 59 multifamily residential units. Bill 2025-937, a companion bill by Harrell, an ordinance to authorize building materials restrictions and requirements for BL 2025-936. BL 2025-938, gamble, an ordinance to amend Title 17 of Metropolitan Code of Laws and zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by changing from RS 20 to R20 zoning for property located at 713 Van Trees Road, approximately 430 feet east of Marthorno Road, 0.097 acres. Bill 2025-939, Hancock, an ordinance to amend Title 17 of Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by changing from RS 10 to R10 zoning for property located at 605 Center Street at the eastern corner of Center Street and Hospital Drive, 0.57 acres. Bill 2025-940, Vo and Prep T, an ordinance to amend Title 17 of Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by canceling a portion of a planned unit development on property located at 562 Rosedale Avenue, approximately 130 feet south of Fairground Court, Zone OR 20. Bill 2025-941, Rutherford, an ordinance to amend Title 17 of Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by changing from AR2A to SB zoning for property located at Old Hickory Boulevard, unnumbered, approximately 2,502 feet southwest of Harrods Hills Lane, 25.44 acres, to permit 52 single-family lots and 50 multifamily residential units. Bill 2025-942, Rutherford, companion bill, an ordinance to authorize building material restrictions and requirements for BL 2025-941. BL 2025-943, Kimbrough, an ordinance to amend Title 17 of Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by changing from RM 15 ANS to OR 20 zoning for properties located at 1918 South Hamilton Road, 1918B South Hamilton Road, 1920 South Hamilton Road, 3121 and 3123 River Drive at the southern corner of River Drive and South Hamilton Road. Bill 2025-944, Evans and Huffman, an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by changing from AR2A and RS15 to RS10 zoning for properties located at 6258 and 6266 North New Hope Road at the southwestern corner of North New Hope Road and Glen Tree Drive, 2.29 acres. BL 2025-945, Harrell, an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by changing from AR2A to RM9ANS zoning for property located at 3802 Penn Hook Road, approximately 142 feet west of Penn Oak Drive, 1.83 acres. And BL 2025-497, Coopin, an ordinance to amend Title 17 of Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by changing from SP to DTC zoning for properties located at 170 and 176 Second Avenue North, approximately 123 feet southeast of Church Street, 0.63 acres within the Second Avenue Historic Preservation Overlay District. May I have a motion on the consent agenda? Moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? Councilmember Allen.
I had an item I wanted to remove as soon as you finished reading the captions.
Okay.
I
which item?
apologize.
No problem.
Can we remove RS 2025-1424?
RS 1424.
Four, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yes, 1424 has been removed. All right. Any other discussion? All in favor of the consent agenda, please say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Now we'll go back in the order of items that were not on consent, starting with number 5 on your agenda, RS 2025-1424, Porterfield, Gamble, Welch, and Allen, a resolution to approve the Second Amendment to a grant contract to construct affordable housing between the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, acting by and through the Metropolitan Housing Trust Fund Commission and Living Developed Concepts, Inc. May I have a motion? Moved and properly seconded. In discussion, Councilmember Allen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So my understanding is there was $750,000 allocated for 4 houses. That's needing to be reduced down to $395,000 for 2 houses, I think, because something was wrong with the land. And so my questions are, what was wrong with the land, and would this be a possibility for a community land trust if and having having the city own the land would solve that problem.
Thank you. Is anyone here from the Housing Trust Fund? Okay, excellent. All right, your mic is on if you would introduce yourself.
Yes, I'm Catherine Middlebrooks. I am the Barnes Housing Trust Fund Program Manager. So this piece of land is being returned because there were actually some developmental issues with the land. The land, they were not able to develop it because a parking spot cannot be put on the property line, and it would need to be moved back 4 feet away from the side of the property line. It also cannot encroach the stormwater easement. There are 2 stormwater conveyances on the site. Both need easements to be recorded and dedicated to Metro. Metro Water also stated that they would need to remove the RCP pipe that is in the channel and reestablish the conveyance. The sides would need to be armored and would need to be detailed on the site plan. A bridge crossing would also need to be added to access the house to the front. And this would need to be engineered to make sure that the low cord is above the flow line of the conveyance. So there were quite a bit of issues with this that would have added significant cost in order to be able to develop this piece of property.
Councilmember Allen?
Thank you. I appreciate that very convincing explanation. And then secondly, does that money then go back into the Barnes Fund and it will be allocated to another project so we don't lose the money?
Yes, it went back into the Barnes Fund.
Great. Thank you. Just want to understand it better.
Thank you. Any further discussion on RS 25-1424? All right, without further discussion, we're ready for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Moving on to number 7 on your agenda, RS 2025-1427, Gamble Parker, resolution approving an option agreement between the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County and Lynn M. Rocco, John W. Murphy III, and Janice K. Murphy, authorizing the purchase of certain property located at 0 Highway 70 South. May I have a motion? Moved and properly seconded. Thank you. I'm not sure if the administration or who can speak to this purchase of property and its use. RS number 7, RS 2025-1427. Okay, actually, if Water wants to speak to it as well, I think Water is, okay, thank you, Miss Peoples. Introduce yourself and go ahead.
Good evening, Mary Peoples, Metro Water Services Council Liaison. We have a water pumping station located in that area, and it's next to a creek. And recently it flooded to the door, so we wanted to acquire this property to put a replacement water pumping station there.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, without further questions, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Moving on to number, a long agenda here. Something else was pulled off. Okay, looks like we're on number 37, BL 2025-830. Horton, an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws and Zoning Ordinance of Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by changing from RS 3.75, RS 3.75A, R6, R6A, RM9, RM20, RM20A, RM40, OR20, MUN, MUNA, CN, CL, CS, CSA, and IR zonings to RM40 ANS, OR 40A, MUNA, MUNANS, MULA, and MULANS zoning for various properties located on the east and west sides of 51st Avenue North, north of I-40, and south of Centennial Boulevard between 63 Avenue North and 43rd Avenue North, and the north of Centennial Boulevard, east and west of 61st Avenue North and Linder Industrial Drive, and on the northeast side of 51st Avenue North and Louisiana Avenue, 293.33 acres, all of which described herein. May I have a motion? Moved and properly seconded, and there are amendments, and I will go to Councilmember Horton. Councilmember Horton, you recognize.
Thank you, Chair. This bill and the two companion bills are collectively known as the Nation's Neighborhood Plan effort to deliver on some of our priorities as a neighborhood, things like increased walkability, different housing options for residents, protecting our tree canopy, combating flooding, as well as to support our local neighborhood businesses. We spoke about this at length at the last council meeting. What's new here today are on this bill and the companion bill are some amendments that are reflective of some of the additional public comment and the additional community meetings we've had in the interim time. The first one, we're on 8:30 here. 1 minute to make sure I don't mess up which amendment is which. This is for the rezoning one. So what this amendment does is it clarifies some of the, one second actually, make sure I don't mess these up. What this amendment does is add some additional context and intent around some of them, most importantly around short-term rental properties. One of the rezoning that we're doing as part of this prohibits new short-term rental properties. Some residents had concern that it would revoke existing short-term rental permits, which is not the case as required under state and I believe under Metro law as well. This clarifies that and provides certainty to residents that it will not revoke existing short-term rental permits, but will prohibit new ones moving forward.
Would you like to move your amendment?
Yes, I'd like to move the amendment for approval, please.
Moved and properly seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? All right, without any discussion, we're ready for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, this bill has been moved 8:30 with Amendment 1. There is a second amendment by... Right. Bill as amended. I think with the, we're not voting. So just to clarify, we just voted for Amendment 1 to go on the bill, but we have not voted on the bill as amended. We have a second amendment that has been put forth by Councilmember Druffel, and I'll go to Councilmember Druffel. He's not a committee member, so that will need to be moved by a committee member, but I will go to Councilmember Druffel as the sponsor. Councilmember Druffel, you're recognized.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. This amendment just requests that a traffic study be completed as part of the overall master plan that will be coming out in February, so that this UDO will be included in the unique potential concerns that might be addressed with the additional density.
Thank you for that. Will I have a committee member move this amendment so we can have this moved and properly seconded? Thank you. Would you like to add anything before we open it up for discussion?
Yeah, let me put some context behind it. You know, my district is west of this, and as you come through west to east, you have two major arterial roads. You've got Winter Parks on the south, north you got the river, so it concentrates all our traffic through Harding and Charlotte, 40 when you can get on 40. So as this occurs, you have Harding, which is pretty much gridlocked now. It's an F road with an F intersection from White Bridge to 440. Which puts pressure on Charlotte. So as Charlotte grows, and we've seen quite a few housing expansion on Charlotte all the way back up to Old Hickory, it's putting more pressure on Charlotte. So with that, as people bypass and go through my district, they're starting to get to Charlotte. We need to make sure that as this UDO and the significant increases in and density expand there, that we have some kind of plan. I think this is worth mentioning, especially from the west to east. And if you can imagine, everything from Ashland City to Fairview goes through this area. And Charlotte is going to be part of this, this increase in traffic. And in some places in Charlotte, there's only 2-lane roads. And that hasn't been addressed with the significant density west of this. So this goal is simply to say, hey, when we do this master traffic plan, we need to make sure we include this section to make sure that traffic along Charlotte moves quick, the best they can.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, starting with, I saw Councilmember Benedict first, and then Councilmember Horton. You're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. I guess I have a question more for planning, but kind of for NDOT as far as the engagement when we do have rezonings. What's the engagement that NDOT has as far as street structure? This is probably, so for instance, with this particular legislation, what is NDOT doing? And I don't know if Mr. Purvis is still here or not.
He is.
Yep.
He is
So-
here.
So I guess that would be my question is, what's NDOT's plan relative to this?
Thank you, Chair.
Tell us your name.
Matt Purvis, I'm the council liaison for the Department of Transportation and
Thank
Multimodal
you.
Infrastructure. For this one specifically, I think planning might actually be able to speak a little bit better as to what the planning process looks like directly for a textual and UDO amendment like this. We, as I've talked several times before about our MMTA, our multimodal traffic analysis process, those are initiated pretty much all the time with individual zoning requests. We usually don't look at them from far-reaching things like this. But regarding the amendment, if we're on the amendment, multimodal planning process that we're undergoing now absolutely would consider the nations and all of our major arterials. So that is what the amendment is asking us to do. We already are planning to do, so I can ensure that they would be followed.
Thank you, Mr. Purvis. Thank you, Chair. That answers my question. I just can't be for this. It doesn't make sense if it's something that's already being done.
Thank you. Councilmember Horton, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. I think first I'd like to address the concept that building housing in the urban core somehow worsens our traffic concerns, which is just directly false. The best thing we can do to reduce traffic is create more walkable and less auto-centric development patterns. Currently, we're generating a lot of traffic in our neighborhood because anytime anybody wants to do anything, increasingly have to get in their car and drive across the city to do it. It's generating more trips and it's making longer trips. The alternative is building more and more housing farther and farther outside the city. That's more people driving, and they're driving farther distances, and it traps people and punishing commutes. By allowing people to live within a walkable community close to the urban core, it reduces strains on our traffic infrastructure compared to the alternative. That said, I mean, this is something that NDOT's already doing, reviewing this as part of their master plan. I don't view this as helping or harming the legislation. I wonder if Councilmember Druffel would change his stance on the legislation if the amendment goes on it.
Councilmember Druffel?
Yeah, thanks. Let me refer to Matt because because I've been working with him on the language for this and his work with NDOT. So
Yeah, so the language in the amendment actually came from NDOT. We added a little bit to it to flesh it out at the council office. But generally speaking, the purpose is to just make sure, because the multimodal mobility master plan is slated, I believe, based on my conversations earlier this morning with planning, is slated to have its draft come out in February. And so the purpose of this is just to make sure that the council is directing NDOT to take an extra look at the arterials in the area around the area being rezoned in West Nashville to ensure that they're accounting for the increase in entitlements when they're doing their modeling and other analysis related to this plan.
thanks.
And just to clarify, would that same analysis come out in February when the report comes out, or would this be something that came out ahead of time?
Are you referring to this specific condition?
Amendment, yes.
So this is just asking for this to be incorporated within the larger study. So this wouldn't be like a separate report, it would just be within the bigger study.
Thank you. I saw someone, Councilmember Gadd. You're recognized.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Just to, seek clarification from Matt, but this may also need to go to NDOT. So the explanation for the amendment is that this will have an extra review. It's not an added review, so NDOT's current review that they're already planning would comply.
I'm not 100% sure where they are in their current analysis of this area, since the study is supposed to be finalized fairly recently, in a few months. So in working with NDOT crafting this amendment last week, it was discussed, and the purpose is just to make sure that they account for the change in entitlements. So if they've already done this analysis and they moved on to another area, come back and take another look. If they haven't, make sure they're accounting for the change when they're doing so. So they're no longer looking at it as being what it's now, but looking at it what it is going forward.
Okay, so I guess the answer is yes, it would comply if they're, the work that they're doing.
Yes.
Okay, thank
Matt
you.
Purvis is in the back as well, if he wants to add anything.
Mr. Purvis, if you would like to add anything to that.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I was going to say, with or without this amendment, obviously we pay attention to legislation that comes through. So understanding the massive change in, or not massive, but the far-reaching change of entitlements of a whole area of town, we would be remiss to not include that in our analysis. So we would be including that already.
Thank you. Councilmember Allen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We just passed an amendment that does something that just clarifies what's already there regarding short-term rental. It didn't change anything. It just provides assurance to people that are nervous. And I believe that's what this amendment does, perhaps with just another make sure that you come back. So anything we can do to make people comfortable, I think, is very important. We still continue to hear from people that are not yet comfortable, and they may get there. And if this helps some more people get there and it doesn't change anything except for explicitly saying that this will be done, then I feel like that's a good amendment.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Horton.
Thank you, Chair. I agree with Councilmember Allen's analysis, and we'll be voting in favor of the amendment as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All right. We're ready for a vote on Amendment 2. All those in favor of Amendment 2, please say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Now we're on the bill as amended, and I will go back to the sponsor. Councilmember Horton.
I'd like to move the bill for approval as amended, please.
Moved and properly seconded. Any discussion on the bill as amended? Councilmember Benedict.
Thank you, Chair. I have something I want to say here. I've written it up. Make sure I say it right. So I rise in support of this rezoning. Well, I sit in support of this rezoning. This is the kind of thoughtful, policy-driven housing reform that Nashville needs. And it's something Councilmember Horton has been working on for 2 years. He campaigned on this. He won with 74% of the vote. He made his position clear to voters, and as I said, he was elected overwhelmingly. So this isn't new. This is follow-through on what he said he was going to do. Over the past 2 years, I know that he's held many community meetings, far beyond what's required. Of course, in addition to the Planning Commission hearing and the public hearing here at Council, he has spent time listening to residents, sharing information, and refining the proposal. People have had opportunities to be heard, and also they have been heard. We've heard them too. Along the way, we heard somebody say the time to build more housing was 10 years ago. And that's absolutely true. But the only thing worse than not acting then is refusing to act now. The best time to do the right thing is today. We also heard someone say along the way that we want to choose who our neighbors are. And let's be honest, that's not about zoning or density. That's about exclusion, entitlement, and intolerance. That kind of thinking does not reflect the inclusive, welcoming city we're trying to build, and it cannot be the basis for policy decisions in this chamber. Over the last 17 years, 53% of this area has already been redeveloped, and according to the planning staff's report. And in doing so, it has established its current character. Planning staff has stated clearly that they do not expect the same pace of change going forward. Many properties have already redeveloped and will not turn over again for years. And also the rezoning acknowledges that and supports a more gradual rate of change, not the runaway development that we've seen. So I also do think somebody's going to move a deferral motion. We saw that on the floor at the last council meeting. But let's talk about what that means. A deferral at this stage, after all the public engagement and after all the process, all the debate, a deferral is not going to be about fine tuning the bill. We're doing that. We've done that. A deferral is a stall tactic intended to delay or quietly kill the proposal. This council has already considered and rejected multiple motions to defer, as I said, and another one would be redundant and counterproductive. I believe that the time to decide is right now. The rezoning is well understood. The planning department has weighed in. The public has participated. The council has had time to engage, and there are no outstanding questions or procedural issues remaining. So, we're elected to make decisions, not to delay them, and I really just would encourage us to act now. So again, I rise in support and hope that you will as well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember. And just to clarify, we are not talking about a deferral right now. We're on the bill as amended. Appreciate your comments, Councilmember. Any more discussion? Councilmember Vice Chair Rutherford, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I first want to commend the sponsor of this legislation for all the work that he has put into this. I know a little something about carrying a difficult zoning bill, and it's not always easy. There are certainly challenges, and he certainly has seen that with this. But I also am very pleased that we added the Druffel Amendment. I think that was very, very positive in terms of helping to make this particular effort better overall. But I do still have a concern that I want to raise. And first off, I want to say I'm not in agreement with what Councilmember Benedict said in terms of deferral and what that means if there's an effort to defer. Because I think that there are times, significant times, when deferral is about making something better rather than about killing it. And I can tell you that I do not want to kill this legislation at this point. I'm not opposed to it. I think it's certainly an interesting concept. And I think it does deserve a little more time to look at it. And let me tell you where I'm coming from, because I'm hearing that there are members that are looking at this as a potential model to use in other parts of Metro Nashville. And if this is going to be a model, and it may very well be, that may very well be its future, but if it is going to be used as a model, we want to make sure that we get it right. We want to make sure that it's as good as it can possibly be. And I'm not convinced that it's necessarily there now. And with the 18 months or 18 months plus, I think the Councilmember Horton said he's put into this, I don't think a little more time is going to make that much of a difference if we're making sure that we get it right in the end, so that we do potentially have a model, if you will, to pass on to other parts of town if that's the direction that it is taking. So with that, what I would like to do is move a 2-meeting deferral with a referral to the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, so that another committee gets to take a look at this, another committee that that has purview, if you will, on concerning areas of this legislation. We've talked about transportation, we've talked about infrastructure, so certainly it needs to be seen by another committee. Typically, zoning matters just come to this committee. But when they're of greater significance, when they have significance beyond the boundaries of one district, and this one certainly has that potential, then it should be heard by an additional committee. So again, that's a 2-meeting deferral with a referral to Transportation and Infrastructure and a re-referral back to this committee. Thank you.
All right, we have a motion on the table, and I did see a hand. Councilmember. Oh, thank you. We have a second on that motion. Moved and properly seconded. Now we're on discussion. Councilmember Parker, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair, for recognizing me. Oh, I am on this committee.
Yes,
I've never liked that custom anyway. Well, so we've got a motion for deferral before us. My questions are more on the UDO, so we're talking about just the zoning piece right now. So motion for deferral, I wonder if the person who, if the council member who moved the motion or a supporting member could articulate what they're hoping to examine or take a look at, or I know, the idea of having another committee look at a zoning bill, I guess I understand that. I don't know that I necessarily agree that that makes sense at this juncture, but like, are there specific issues with the legislation that need to be looked at, fleshed out, questioned, et cetera? And yeah, I guess that's just, could we have some clarification on what is proposed to be worked on in the proposed deferral period?
Okay, I guess I'll go back to the motion, to the council member who made the motion, and then I saw Councilmember Allen and Councilmember Gadd. But Vice Chair Rutherford, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and that's a great question. And my answer to that would simply be that we have heard a number of things from the folks who have communicated with us from both inside the sponsors district and outside in terms of what their concerns are related to traffic and parking and trees, and there's a long, lengthy list of concerns that they have raised, and I think very valid concerns. And so having the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee take a look at this, I think would be a positive. And I think there could potentially be some additional things that may be added through amendment, because of course we can amend on third reading with zoning. So that's not at issue. And so I think the 2-meeting deferral for that purpose, I think is a positive in the end. If nothing changes ultimately, I do think this council as a whole is going to pass this eventually on third reading. But I think it hurts nothing at all to take that extra look and just make sure, and that's solely because of the potential of using this as a model across the county. We want to make sure we get it right and do everything that we can to make it as good as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Allen, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to thank Councilmember Horton. I know how hard he's worked on this, and as someone else who has spent a whole lot of time thinking about housing, just accessibility and attainability and all the buzzwords that we use these days, there's no question we need to change something. So I applaud him for the effort he's put into this. I do feel like he has done a lot of community engagement, but there are other types of community engagement, as the handout that you gave list. And I will say, when my neighborhood did our first conservation zoning overlay and then expanded it, in addition to having community meetings where people came to a central place, we also had block captains who walked door to door and put flyers out. We mailed a ballot first we mailed an information piece and had neighborhood newsletters. So I think there are other ways to reach the people who may not necessarily be plugged in to the methods that reached a certain group who is engaged. But I believe when you're doing something that rezones everyone's property, that it is helpful and advisable to ensure that they understand what's going on. And I know there's a lot of misinformation that many of the concerns are based on. But to me, it's important to dispel that misinformation. And the way to do that, I think, is to expand your methods of community engagement. And I think a 2-meeting deferral would allow for that. And possibly, I mean, I have talked to some people that I said, does what is happening on the corridors bother you? Not at all. So maybe there is some looking at how deep into the neighborhood some of these changes go, and perhaps some adjustments would make it so that almost everybody shows up in support, which is, the goal is to get to boring, and we're not quite there yet. So I know it's no fun when people are frustrated because people care deeply about their homes. And people who don't have homes need things to change so that we can do that. And again, I will say I appreciate how hard he has worked to create that. I think we're close. I believe that another 2 meetings to reach out to the people who still see this as a threat as opposed to a solution can be better informed. And at that point, then I think we have a good bill to work with. So I support the deferral.
Thank you, Councilmember. I saw Councilmember Gadd, and then Councilmember Johnston, and then back to Councilmember Horton. Councilmember Gadd, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to make a motion to table.
Okay. Motion to table. And I have a second. And so it will be Councilmember Gadd and Vice Chair Rutherford, starting with, who we start with? The person who tabled. Just a second. Okay. 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 Okay, thank you all for your patience. We're going to start with Councilmember Gadd, who made the motion to table. A minute. Yes, yes, we'll have a 3-minute timer for both council members speaking on the table. We'll start with Councilmember Gadd and then go to Vice Chair Rutherford. All right, Councilmember Gadd, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My motion to table kind of stands on the merits that the council member, I think at this point, is able to make his own motion for deferrals if he wishes. I appreciate the concern for what really is my district. So thank you to the councilman who's wanting to refer in his motion this matter to another committee that doesn't typically take up and doesn't have purview over this area. And I still don't know what we'll get from that committee, but for the concerns of the district that's adjacent, which is District 24. There was a community meeting in District 24 about this meeting. And I've gotten lots of constituents who attended this who have concerns, and some reached out that they are still in support, and some have reached out that they're opposed. Overall, those discussions can be had, but I would defer to the person that's been leading those communications in his district with the neighborhood association that's also been leading those communications rather than one of us here on the committee that I just don't understand what we're going to be getting from that deferral coupled with the referment. So anyways, colleagues, I would appreciate your support in tabling this amendment or this motion.
Thank you, Councilmember. Moving on, let me get your mic going on. Vice Chair Rutherford, you are, wait a minute. Oh, I started over. You are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm really not sure why we're not just voting on this one way or the other, up or down, because the full council will know what action we took and can decide accordingly what they're going to do. But I reiterate my stance from before. Really, what harm will it do to get it before transportation and infrastructure to take 2 more weeks? You look at where it is right now. At the end of that period of time, when that is done, we can say that we've exhausted essentially every avenue to improve it. There's no overriding factor that says, oh my gosh, this has to pass right now, or, everything's going to fall apart. That's not it. We've had those scenarios before with legislation that there was significant peril if because we were under a timeline to get something passed, but this isn't it. There's no timeline here where this has to be done now. There's no harm in taking 2 additional weeks to take a look at this a little closer and take into consideration all of the things that have been brought before us by all the people who have come before this meeting tonight, that came before the Planning Commission, that came before the public hearing at our last meeting, to take everything that was said and parse through it and take a close look at everything and see how can this be improved upon yet, more from where it is. And I think getting it before transportation and infrastructure will give one more look. And in terms of what can potentially be improved and who else needs to be heard, I mentioned the list before, but there's also the issue of safety and fire. We need input from just additional sources to know that we are where we need to be with this before we ultimately sign off on it. Again, I reiterate that I do believe that ultimately this will pass on 3rd reading, but we want to make sure that we dot all our I's, cross all our T's, and make sure we have it as good as we possibly can have it if it's going to have true implications across the county and used as a model. I ultimately would like for it to be as good as possible if we're going to use it in other parts of town. So I don't know the hang up on wanting to stall this effort to defer it. because you're only stalling what could ultimately be improving the bill. And so let's look at how we can improve it, and in 2 weeks, come back and see where we are. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. We are on the motion to table. And without further discussion from the two council members on the tabling motion, we're ready for a vote on the motion to table. And we'd like hands raised on this, please. Those in favor of the tabling motion, please say aye. No. I was just reminding everybody. Those who are opposed to the tabling motion, please raise your hand. All right, the tabling motion prevails. Oh, are any not voting? All right, we have everybody. All right, tabling motion prevails. Now we are back on the bill as amended with Amendment 1 and 2. I think Councilmember Johnston, yes, thank you. What's next? Councilmember Johnston, you're recognized.
Thank you. I just had, I guess, a procedural question that's maybe is for Director Darby. One of the things that came out of the Planning Commission approval was, and I don't think they've ever done that before, was attach a fiscal note for infrastructure improvements needed in order to support this. And I think it totaled $24 million in water sewer combined. So I'm wondering if that would, because this never happened before, would that trigger a referral to the Budget and Finance Committee, or how do we handle that? I mean, it's obviously new, so we need to have a discussion about it, but I'm just wondering how, how that impacts how this filters through our system and how we deal with that from, if it's necessary. Is that something that the city is forced to do at that time? Like, how are we handling that? Number one, but then also some public safety concerns with this massive of an upzoning, and you can obviously have a large amount of density increase. Have we talked to police or fire about coverage, response times, any of that? And I think we've got some people in the audience, but first I would like to know the process when you have a fiscal note that comes from the Planning Commission. How are we going to handle that?
Thank you. Director Darby?
I don't think that that type of fiscal note would require necessarily go to Budget and Finance Committee. Usually legislative items get sent to the Budget and Finance Committee when there is a current fiscal impact. This, I believe, from what I'm hearing, this fiscal note would be a projected estimate of something that might happen in the future. It's not necessarily something that is going to be required upon passage of this legislation.
Councilmember Johnston, does that answer your question?
I guess so. I think we need to probably take a further look at that. If this is what we're going to start doing or be receiving from the Planning Commission, I think we need to look at it, because if we're going to be allowing the base zoning to change such that density would change so much that the infrastructure would need to be improved in order to support it, the city has to pay for that. And so when is it appropriate for that fiscal note to be something that we're discussing, because we're talking about long-term debt in order to pay for those things, and that takes time. It takes time, but it also takes money. So I just think we need to have a process to look at that outside of this, but just in general. But then I would like to see if anybody's had any discussion with fire or police about response times.
Thank you, and I'll go to the sponsor. Councilmember Horton, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair, and appreciate Councilmember Johnston's interest and concern for our neighborhood as part of this. I think one thing I'd like to address as an overarching theme is the idea that allowing denser development is somehow a burden on both an infrastructure, from an infrastructure perspective, as well as a city services perspective. The Planning Department has put together several years ago now a very helpful study, fiscal impact analysis of different development scenarios, which shows clearly that denser development patterns like this have a net positive fiscal impact compared to the alternative of spreading people farther and farther out. It's less of a burden on our police force to police a neighborhood that is tightly knit compared to if we're spread out over dozens of miles. So this reduces strain on our city services according to Metro studies compared to what the alternative is. And I appreciate Councilmember Johnston's interest in this.
Thank you. And with the planning table, like to speak to your study that was acknowledged here and how that may factor into the decision from the planning department of the 24 million for infrastructure, if that makes sense. Go to the planning table.
Sure, thank you. So we did, it is unusual for us to include a fiscal note like this. However, I did want to note that that fiscal note would be assuming a full build out. And as we noted, here we anticipate that any change would be gradual and each individual project would have to go before all of the metro agencies for review, including water services and sewer services. And they would be tasked with asking for and receiving a capacity letter. And at some point, if there is not capacity, either private development would need to make some improvements there, or they would not be able to receive a permit. And so that we wanted to include it so that everyone could understand sort of the full impact if there was a full development. But note that individual projects would also would be analyzed and would be responsible for improvements.
Thank you for that. That's very helpful. Councilmember Vo, you're recognized.
Thank you so much, Chair. I am in support of BL 2025-830. In District 17, we have the Wedgewood, Houston, Chestnut Hill UDO, and that's been in place for over 5 years. Getting close to there. And I will tell you that, we were looking at all the parcels too, and there has not been a massive, overhaul of everyone trying to rezone their properties. I would tell you, like, even in my own neighborhood, we still have many parcels that, I would love to see, built out that aren't happening. So I know there's a lot of concerns, what people are worried about. And I would say in my district, where there is a lot of development on the corridors, in the neighborhoods, we aren't seeing the massive, concern that I do hear from constituents that they're saying. And I know there are, even people in my district that would like to, look at changes in our current UDO. So I really think that, we have a housing issue here, and how are we improving it? And, for me, a policy that really focuses on inclusive neighborhoods, where residents of different ages, incomes, and backgrounds can actually live together instead of, seeing people being pushed out and living further out is really critical. And I support this legislation. I think it's helping us get there. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Vo. And I would like to just clarify for the viewing audience and any other audiences that are listening that this bill, BL 2025-830, does change the zoning on property. So there is a second bill, 31, that talks more about the UDO, but this particular 830 that we're discussing right now does change the zoning on those properties. So it wouldn't be a matter of people having to apply to rezone. The zoning would already be changed. So just want to make that clarification. Any other discussion? All right, without further discussion, we're ready to vote on BL 2025-830 as amended or with amendments 1 and 2. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, thank you on that one. Now we're on BL 2025-831. An ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by applying a urban design overlay district for various properties located on the east and west sides of 51st Avenue North, north of I-40 and south of Centennial Boulevard between 63rd Avenue North and 43rd Avenue North, and north of Centennial Boulevard between Louisiana Avenue to Linder Industrial Drive, and on the east and west side of 51st Avenue North, zone RS 3.75, RS 3.75A, R6, R6A, RM9, RM20, RM20A, RM40, OR20, 20 MUN, MUNA, CN, CL, CS, CSA, and IR, 357.29 acres, all of which described herein. Councilmember Horton, you are recognized.
Thank you, Chair. This is the companion bill that we mentioned, the urban design overlay accompanying the zoning component of the plan.
You want to move the bill?
Oh, I'd like to move for approval, please, with a brief comment.
Moved and properly seconded. Thank you.
This is the associated urban design overlay, again, that we've discussed at length together with the zoning component just now, as well as in council last meeting. One thing that's new here today is an amendment. This amendment is reflective of some of the additional community meetings we've had since the last meeting, as well as comments that were made during the public hearing, both at the Planning Commission and at the council. One of them is it removes a height bonus. The urban design overlay lowers our current height limit from 3 stories down to 35 feet, but allowed a bonus if certain conditions were met, such as more family-sized units in the building. Many residents felt that this height bonus was inappropriate and results in buildings that are too tall for the neighborhood. So this amendment removes that height bonus. It also provides additional context and intent of the neighborhood to preserve our tree canopy, to preserve our healthy existing trees, as well as plant new ones to begin the reforestation of our tree canopy and of our neighborhood. And with that, I would like to move the amendment for approval, please.
May I have a second? I think I heard one. Thank you. Moved and properly seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Councilmember Allen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm looking at the UDO that's in the amendments packet, and it says a stacked flats multifamily or mixed-use development is entitled to an additional 15 feet of height if a minimum of 25% of the original units within the development are 3 or more bedrooms, or a minimum of 50% are with 2 bedrooms. So should that be in there if that height bonus got removed? Help me understand.
We'll go to the planning table. You're recognized.
So, excuse me, there are different character areas within the UDO. It was removed from the residential character area, which is the majority of the interior of the neighborhood. So it remains within the blue.
Neighborhood center character area.
No, the residential character area. It's the blue character area that covers the majority of the UDO. The neighborhood center is a different character area.
I'm just looking at the language.
Right, and the height bonus was kept in the neighborhood center character area, but removed out of the residential character area, which covers the majority of the area that's within the UDO.
Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you. Any further discussion on amendment to 831? All right, without further discussion, we're ready for a vote. All those in favor of amendment to 831, please say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Now we're on the bill as amended. Councilmember Horton.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to move the bill for approval as amended, please.
Moved and properly seconded. Any discussion on the bill as amended? No discussion. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Yes, 10-0 on that amendment and on the bill as amended. Now we're going to number 39, BL 2025-832, Horton, an ordinance to authorize building material restrictions and requirements for BL 2025-831, a proposed urban design overlay district for various properties located on the east and west sides of 51st Avenue North, north of I-40, and south of Centennial Boulevard, between 63rd Avenue North and 43rd Avenue North, and north of Centennial Boulevard, between Louisiana Avenue to Linden Industrial Drive, and on the east and west side of 51st Avenue zoned RS 3.75, RS 3.75A, R6, R6A, RM9, RM20, RM20A, RM40, OR20, MUN, MUNA, CN, CL, CS, CSA, and IR, 357.29 acres, all of which described herein. May I have a motion? Councilmember Horton.
Move for approval, please. Do we have a second?
Moved and properly seconded. Any discussion on 832? Councilmember Allen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is more a general discussion. I know that in some is in here and some is in the UDO restricting exterior surfaces to things that don't include vinyl siding and not allowing chain link fences. I just want to go on the record as saying I live in a house with vinyl siding and a chain link fence because that's what we could afford at the time. And so if we are serious about making it so people can afford to build housing that regular folks can live in, we may need to rethink some of that.
Thank you, Councilmember Allen. Any further discussion on that? All right. Without further discussion, we are ready for a vote on BL 2025-832. It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 10-0. Moving on to number 40, BL 2025-837, Huffman, Gregg, Evans, Horton, and others, an ordinance amending section 17.20.030 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws to eliminate the minimum parking requirements for a bar or nightclub use. May I have a motion? The council member is not on the committee. I need a committee member to move this. 40, BL 2025-837, moved and properly seconded. The sponsor of the bill is here, so I'll go to the sponsor. You are recognized.
Thank you, Chair, for recognizing me, even though I'm not on the committee. Real quick explanation of what this legislation does. First off, it eliminates outdated parking minimum requirements for bars and nightclubs. Parking mandates drive up costs. They reduce flexibility, often resulting in underused lots. Most patrons of bars and nightclubs use rideshare, transit, or walk, making these requirements really outdated. Removing these makes projects really a lot more feasible, and I think it aligns very good with our planning department's density goals. One thing that I do want to mention specifically in this committee, that this bill does not take away parking, it takes away the mandate. And that's a very clear distinction to make. It gives businesses the flexibility to build parking that they actually need instead of forcing them to waste space on money on empty lots. So with that, I ask for your approval and would take any questions.
Thank you, council member. I don't see any hands, so I'll get us started. I do have questions about this bill. I will say that I am not a big fan of parking minimums because I feel it solves one problem and then causes another, particularly when you're talking about bar or nightclub. I understand the reason for parking minimums when it comes to residential, particularly multifamily, because that provides an opportunity to buy more units. However, I don't see the significance when it comes to bar and nightclub. So maybe the sponsor can help me. Well, how does this, what problem are we trying to solve, and how does this help?
Well, just to start off with, removing surface space opens up the possibility for more density, which would be very good for this city and the goals of this committee.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Horton.
Thank you, Chair, and I'd like to thank Councilmember Huffman for bringing this. In addition to all of the great urban policy that this bill accomplishes, I think it's also a public safety measure. Parking minimums result in more parking, incentivizes more people to drive. There is no place we'd want people to drive than to a bar or a nightclub. Drunk driving is a scourge which takes needless amounts of lives every year. I think this is a step in the right direction to encourage responsible behavior and allow businesses to make the decision for themselves how much parking is appropriate at their establishment. And so very grateful for Councilmember Huffman for bringing this. It's good urban policy, it's pro-business, it's pro-public safety. Very proud to be a co-sponsor and thank him for bringing this.
Thank you. Councilmember Toombs, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair, for recognizing me, even though I'm not on the committee. So I understand, I guess, putting the onus and accountability on the business owner to put in appropriate parking. I do have serious concerns because the rideshare thing doesn't seem to be as prevalent in my part of the city, and people are parking in neighborhoods, and I'm getting a lot of complaints from residents about neighborhood bars and clubs and where their patrons are parking. And so I'd be really nervous about taking away required parking for bars and nightclubs, just because I'm not seeing that. It would be great if people use Uber and Lyft or carpooled. That makes sense. but I'm just not seeing that pattern of behavior in my part of town.
Thank you, Councilmember, and I appreciate your comments. I appreciate all the comments. I would just like to add to that, you know, it's been said that this is normal urban planning, which I agree, having been born and raised in Chicago, but I'll say that we are not there yet. We have just recently passed legislation to improve our transit system and transit services, but we're not there yet. There's a sidewalk on every street in Chicago. We don't have sidewalks on most of our streets, even on corridors in Nashville. So that lends safety concerns with people parking in neighborhoods who are going to bars and nightclubs and leaving bars and nightclubs on streets that are not safe. They don't have sidewalks and without robust public transit currently. So I feel like this is putting the cart before the horse. I think we may get to a place where we can not require parking for bar and nightclub, but I don't think we're there yet. So that's what I have to say. If any other comments, Councilmember Allen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I agree this is good policy. I agree this is a chicken and egg kind of thing, and I'm not sure, you know, whether we've laid the egg yet or not. So I share Councilmember Toombs' concern about the neighborhoods and wonder if there's any way to put some responsibility on the bars or nightclubs to share in the burden of residential permit parking or something. My understanding is that we've solved this problem. We've dealt with this problem in the 12 South area by having some residential permit parking, but right now that's a $10 permit. It's going to become a much more expensive permit. And so while in theory, I absolutely agree that this is a good thing to do, and I was originally conflicted of, do we want to make it easier for this particular use to happen in places, but I fully understand the value of having that particular customer not driving. So it's a mixed bag, but I would like to have this followed by some solutions for the neighborhoods to provide protections. I'm not sure that I want to hold this up for that, but I would like to let that become part of our ongoing discussion of residential permit parking.
Any further comments? Councilmember Porterfield.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for recognizing me, even though I'm not on the committee. I don't have a position on this legislation as of yet, but I did want to add one thing to the conversation to kind of piggyback off of something that Council Lady Toombs has said. I think that different communities kind of utilize these services in different ways, and there are a lot of people that go out, and when there is not parking, they're parking in front of people's houses, in front of people's yards, and I don't know a lot of people that use rideshare when they're going out to the club and going out to bars. So I don't, that could be a neighborhood thing, that could be a cultural thing, that could be a socioeconomic thing, but most people I know actually drive and find somewhere to park on the street, which causes issues in neighborhoods. So to Councilmember Allen's point about maybe putting the onus on business owners to try to help solve this solution, I'm curious if the sponsor is interested in doing some legwork to kind of work with businesses. Maybe the business owners can work with some of the rideshare companies to give discounts when people are using these services, or whatever the case may be. I know sometimes, like for special events, they'll use like discount codes or something to that nature. So don't really have a support or opposition, but I did want to add that piece to the conversation. If the sponsor is still working on this legislation, that may be something that that he wants to consider.
Okay, I'll go back to the sponsor since that was kind of directed at you. Councilmember Huffman.
Thank you very much. It's on third reading right now. I'm not going to make a motion to defer at this point. I don't think as a body we need to be taking stances supporting and encouraging people drinking and driving. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. And I just want to make it clear, I don't think anyone is advocating for drinking and driving. That is not what this bill is about. So just want to make that clear for the viewing audience and everyone else here today. Are there any more comments about the bill? The sponsor has said that he is not interested in a deferral. Are there any more comments from the committee? Right, Without further objection, we're ready for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Is that an abstention or, okay, around, it's abstention. Any other? Just want to make sure I got one abstention, one opposition. All right, thank you. 811, thank you. Moving on to number 41, which, well, we have two more. Number 41, BL 2025-882 by Benedict, an ordinance to amend Title 17 of Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by amending a specific plan on properties located at 1007 and 1009 Sully Drive, approximately 150 feet west of Gallatin Pike, zoned RS 7.5 and SP 3.31 acres to permit 55 multifamily residential units. Councilmember Benedict is not here. Okay. Councilmember Harrell will be sign on to it. Okay. 882 and 883, yes. Okay. Councilmember, you're recognized.
Councilmember Benedict actually, she wanted to move forward with the 2-meeting deferral for both of these.
Okay. All right. So you move for a 2-meeting deferral. May I have a second? Moved and properly seconded. Any discussion on the 2-meeting deferral? Okay, we'll take a combined motion for 882 and 883 for a 2-meeting deferral. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. And that concludes our agenda. I would... Okay. 8:30. Okay, 8:37, we have a correction on the vote. It was actually 611 for that bar and nightclub use parking minimums. It was 611, not 811, so making that correction. And it looks like we skipped one item. This is a long agenda, guys, so thank you for bearing with us. Number 36, that was on consent. Yeah, it was on consent, never mind. I would like to add before we conclude that the Planning and Zoning Committee did put together a recommended strategies for effective public engagement on planning and zoning matters for Nashville Metro Council members. It is on the committee members' desk, and it will be available to all council members and the general public. It will be on our share folder. As well as available to anyone who'd like to see it. But what it is a list that we have compiled, and I appreciate any committee members that sent in information to add to this, but it is recommended strategies for public engagement, and it includes resources and things that are available to council members from the council office to help in those efforts. So we talk about everything from engaging stakeholders early and often to leveraging multiple outreach channels. And I encourage everyone to take a look at it. It's not long, it's just 2 pages, but it's some great information that has been used, best practices across the country for public engagement on zoning matters. And with that, well, first, are there any comments on that from any of the committee members? All right, with no comments, we are adjourned. Thank you.